Hello friends, this is your Yoganandam, biology lecturer from Edall Academy YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to discuss one of the biology full syllabus test paper. Already we have discussed there are 6 test papers with detailed solutions in order. This is the 7th paper we are going to discuss.
Question number 1. The smallest disease causing agent is dash and it is made up of. Prions are discovered by Prusiner in 1982. They are the smallest infectious particles which do not have nucleic acid. Prions are modified hydrophobic glycoproteins that are resistant to protease action compared with normal proteins. They function as infectious agents. Prions change normal proteins to an infectious form, and they are found to cause disease in animals and not in plants. So the correct option for this question is B. The smallest disease causing agent is prions and it is made up of proteins only. Question number 2. Select the odd one with respect to chemical nature of a hormone. Chemically, the hormone may be peptide, polypeptide, that is insulin, steroid, cortisol, iodothyronine, that is thyroid hormones, or amino acid derivatives, example epinephrine. So here the answer for this question is option D. Question number 3. In plant nutrition, elements are classified as major, minor depending on. Major elements are required by plants in the quantity of more than 1 milligram per gram of dry matter, and minor elements are required in quantity of less than 1 milligram per gram of dry matter. So the answer for this question is option C. In plant nutrition, elements are classified as major or minor depending upon the relative amount required by plants. So the correct option for this question is option C. Question number 4. Hormones which interact with the membrane bound receptors normally do not enter the target cells but generate second messenger. These second messengers are referred to as second messengers are intracellular signaling molecules released by the cell in response to exposure to extracellular signaling molecules. The first messengers. Examples of second messenger molecule include cyclic AMP, cyclic GMP, inositol triphosphate, glycerol and calcium. So the answer for this question is all of the above. Hormones which interact with the membrane bound receptors normally do not enter the target cells but generate second messengers. The second messengers are referred to as calcium ion and inositol 3-phosphate, and CAMP and calcium ions. So the answer for this question is all of the above. Question number 5. Organisms called methanogens are most abundant in. Methanogens are archaebacteria, reside primarily in the rumen and lower segment of the intestines of ruminants, where they utilize the reducing equivalents derived from rumen fermentation to reduce carbon dioxide, formic acid, or methylamine to methane. So the answer for this question is cattle yard. Organisms called methanogens are most abundant in cattle yard. Question number 6. The alpha and beta cells are found in. Islets of Langerhans is an endocrine part of pancreas which contain alpha cells, beta cells and delta cells. Pancreatic acini cells secrete pancreatic enzyme. The ducts carry these secretions. So the answer for this question is option A. Islets of Langerhans. The alpha cells and beta cells are found in islets of Langerhans. Question number 7. Select the option having the fungi which belong to the same class. Rhizopus and Mucor are the members of Icomyces. Aspergillus, Saccharomyces, that is yeast. Morchella, that is morels or Ascomyces fungi. Agaricus, it is generally called as mushroom, contain edible Basidiomyces fungi. Morchella, commonly called as morels or edible Ascomyces fungi. So the answer for this question is option C. Morchella and Saccharomyces are the fungi which belong to same class. Question number 8. The structure that lies at the base of thalamus in the human brain is. The thalamus, hypothalamus and epithalamus form the diencephalon. Epithalamus form the root while the hypothalamus forms the floor of the diencephalon. This structure is responsible for the synthesis of oxytocin. So the answer for this question is option A. The structure responsible for synthesis of oxytocin. Question number 9. Identify the labeling A, B and C. This plasmid given below. From the diagrammatic representation, they asked to find out A, B and C. Plasmids are extra chromosomal self-replicating DNA present in the cytoplasm of bacteria. The given plasmid is PBR322. The most common vector used in genetic engineering is PBR322 is one of the standard cloning vector widely used in gene cloning experiments. This vector has been required by inserting genes for antibiotic resistance. It is named after Bolivar and Rodriguez who prepared the vector. So the correct answer for this question is option A. Part A represent AMP resistance, part B represent tetracycline resistance and C represent ROP. So the correct option is A. Question number 10. The process of responding to peripheral nerve stimulation that occurs involuntarily is referred to as. A reflex is defined as an involuntary, unlearned, repeatable, automatic reaction to a specific stimulus which does not require input from the brain. A reflex arc is made up of 5 components: a receptor, muscle spindle, an afferent fiber, muscle spindle afferent, an integration center, spinal cord, an afferent fiber, alpha motor neurons, an effector muscle. So the answer for this question is reflex action. So the correct option is A. Question number 11. The main role of bacteria in the carbon cycle involves. Bacteria are essential decomposers in nature. They play a vital role in the recycling of nutrients by causing the breakdown of dead organic matter. Thus, they play a critical role in the carbon cycle. The most important bacterium involved in the carbon cycle is Pseudomonas denitrificans. So the answer for this question is option D. The main role of bacteria in carbon cycle involves digestion or breakdown of organic compounds. Question number 12. Joints which are fused end to end with the help of dense fibrous connective tissue are referred to as. Structures are fibrous joints present in the cranium. They are immovable joints. The 4 major structures are the coronal, sagittal, lamboid and squamous structures. They connect the frontal, parietal, temporal and occipital bones. The coronal suture joins the frontal bone to the parietal bones. The sagittal suture joins the 2 parietal bones together. So the answer for this question is sutures. Joints which are fused end to end with the help of dense fibrous connective tissue are referred to as sutures. So the correct option is A. 13. Penis is a gymnosperm because the word gymnosperm is derived from Greek word gymno meaning naked and sperma meaning seed. Thus gymnosperms are naked seed bearing plants in which seeds are not present inside fruits, as gymnosperms are non-flowering plants in which ovules are born directly on megasporophyll. Thus ovules remain exposed before and after fertilization. So the answer for this question is option C. Pinus is a gymnosperm because it lacks ovary but possesses exposed ovules. So the correct option is C. Question number 14. The anatomical unit of muscle is. Myofibrils are assembled of repeated structures called sarcomeres, that is the smallest functional unit of muscle fiber. However, a single muscle cell has many myofibrils. It is generally called as muscle fiber units. Each sarcomere is composed of actin, it is called as thin, and myosin, called as thick filaments, arranged in the precise order, and proteins complexes that support the filament structures. So the answer for this question is muscle fibers. Anatomical unit of muscle is, that is muscle fiber. So the correct option is A. Question number 15. Identify the process involved recognizing label 1, 2 and 3. Here the diagrammatic representation is given. From that, they asked to identify the labeled structures. Transpiration is a physiological process that occurs in plants. It is a physiological process and occurs through the movement of water through the epidermis or stomata that happens by getting absorbed from the soil. So the answer for this question is option C, transpiration process. The given diagram, the recognizing label 1, 2, 3 represent transpiration process. So the correct option for this question is option C. Question number 16. Ammonia, urea, uric acid, carbon dioxide, water and ions like sodium, potassium, chlorine, phosphates, sulfates, etc. are. Animals accumulate ammonia, urea, uric acid, carbon dioxide, water and ions like sodium, potassium, chlorine, phosphate, sulfate, etc. either by metabolic activities or by other means like excess ingestion. These substances have to be removed totally or partially. So the answer for this question is both A and B. Ammonia, urea, uric acid, carbon dioxide, water and ions like sodium, potassium, chlorine, phosphate, sulfate, etc. are excretory substances and metabolic products. So the correct option for this question is option D. Question number 17. Identify X from the diagram given below. Nucellus is diploid nutritive tissue present in the ovule. It provides nutrition to developing embryo sac. Most ovules, nucellus is completely consumed during the development of embryo sac. In some ovules where the nucellus is abundant, it persists even after the development of embryo sac. These remains of nucellus are called as perisperm. Perisperm is absorbed in seeds of beet, coffee, etc. So the answer for this question is option B. So in the given diagram, X represent remnant of nucellus. It is service called in. Iron-free compound of hemoglobin is. Hemoglobin is a conjugated protein which is made up of protein called globin and non-protein group called heme. Heme is an iron Fe2 plus porphyrin complex. A mammalian hemoglobin molecule is composed of 4 heme molecules with 4 globin molecules. So the answer for this question is option A. Iron-free compound of hemoglobin is globin. Question number 19. In gymnosperms, the pollination is. In gymnosperms, pollination occurs by wind. It is generally called as anemophilous. During pollination, pollen grains land on the female cones near the micropylar region. The pollen grains are transferred directly to the ovule as the ovules are exposed directly to the surface. So the answer for this question is micropylar and anemophilous. In gymnosperms, the pollination is micropylar and anemophilous. So the correct option is A. Question number 20. The oxygen dissociation curve of hemoglobin is. The relationship between the PO2 and the percentage saturation of hemoglobin when represented on gray is termed as oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve and it is sigmoid. It is S-shaped in shape. So the answer for this question is both A and B. The oxygen dissociation curve of hemoglobin is S-shaped and sigmoid shape. So the correct option is D. Question number 21. A process where the diploid cell of ovule outside the embryo sac developing into another embryo sac without reduction is known as. A process where the diploid cell of an ovule outside the embryo sac developing into another embryo sac without reduction is known as apospory. When diploid cell of nucellus divide to form diploid embryo sac which contain diploid egg cell from which embryo develops without fertilization or gametic fusion, then it is called apospory. This mechanism of seed formation without gametic fusion or fertilization is called apomixis. It is commonly present in the members of Asteraceae and grasses. So the answer for this question is option B. A process where the diploid cells and ovule outside the embryo sac developing into another embryo sac without reduction is known as apospory. Question number 22. A specialized center called respiratory rhythm center is primarily responsible for the regulation of respiration. It is located in medulla oblongata. The lower half of the brain or brainstem contains the cardiac, respiratory, vomiting and vasomotor centers and regulates autonomic voluntary functions such as breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure. So the answer for this question is option B. It is located on the lower part of the brain. Question number 23. What is not the incorrect sequence of prophase 1 of meiosis? Prophase 1 of meiosis is of longest duration and it is further subdivided into 5 subcategories such as leptotin, zygotin, pactin, diplotin, and diakinesis. Leptotin shows bucket formation. The pairing of homologous chromosomes or synapses occurs during zygotin. Crossing over occurs during pactin. Chiasmata formation occurs during diplotin and terminalization occurs during diakinesis. So the answer for this question is option D is not the incorrect sequence. Leptotin, zygotin, pactin, diplotin, diakinesis. So the correct option is D. Question number 24. The principal organ in human involved in the absorption of nutrients like glucose, fructose, fatty acids, glycerol, and amino acid is. The small intestine is the main organ for the absorption of nutrients. It has large number of villi and microvilli which increase the surface area of intestine for the absorption of food. Microbial eye forms as a result of holding plasma membrane of cells, giving it is a brush bordered appearance. So the answer for this question is option B, small intestine. 25. Which character marks the beginning of second phase of mitosis? The nuclear membrane disintegrates at the end of prophase and the disintegration of nuclear membrane marks the beginning of metaphase. In metaphase, chromosome starts moving towards the center of the cells and gets organized in one straight line to form metaphase plate. Spindle fiber attaches to the kinetochore of the each chromosome form each pole. So the answer for this question is option C. Which character marks the beginning of the second phase of mitosis is disintegration of nuclear envelope. Question number 26. What are the steps of endomembrane system? Cellular organelles that depend on each other for formation and functioning are the part of the endomembrane system. Organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, lysosomes, and vacuole are part of endomembrane system. Protein synthesis takes place on rough endoplasmic reticulum. The endomembrane system performs its function through the following steps. The proteins and the lipids formed in the endoplasmic reticulum are: first one is wrapped in a vesicle, drifted to Golgi, attached to cis Golgi, move through Golgi, exit trans Golgi in a new vesicle, drift to cell membrane, and finally exocytosis takes place. So the answer for this question is option A. The steps of endomembrane system is the protein and lipids get wrapped in a vesicle, drift to Golgi, attached to cis Golgi, move through Golgi, exit trans Golgi in a new vesicle, drift to the cell membrane, and exocytosis. So the correct option is A. Question number 27. A fleshy fold of tissues which extend down from mons pubis and surrounded vaginal orifice is. Majora is a prominent pair of cutaneous skin folds that forms the lateral longitudinal borders of the vulval clefts. The labia majora forms the folds that cover the fabia minora. So the answer for this question is labia majora, option B. Question number 28. Read the following 4 statements. From that, how many of the above statements are correct? Statement 1. Every chromosome essentially has a primary construction or the centromere. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2. During different stages of cell division, cells show structured chromosomes in place of the nucleus. So second statement also correct. Third statement. Nuclear pores are the passages through which the movement of RNA and protein takes place in one direction between the nucleus and the cytoplasm. This statement is wrong. Statement 4. Chromatin contains DNA, some basic proteins called histones, and RNA only. So fourth statement also wrongly given. So out of 4 statements, Two statements are correct. Statement 1 and 2. So the correct option is C. Question number 29. An inverted pear-shaped organ attached to the pelvic wall involved in the reproduction is. The uterus is a female reproductive organ located between the bladder and rectum in the pelvic area. It is an inverted pear-shaped structure. The uterus is connected to the fallopian tubes, the cervix, and vagina. The main purpose of uterus is to nourish fetus prior to birth. In menstruating females, the ovaries release eggs that travel via the fallopian tubes to the uterus. If fertilized, the egg bind themselves to the walls of the uterus and the fetus develops. So the answer for this question is both A and B, womb and uterus. Inverted pear-shaped organ attached to pelvic wall involved in the reproduction is both A and B. Question number 30. Shape of the cell may be depending on. Different cells have different shapes. The shape of the cell is variable and it is depend on the functions performed by the cell. So the answer for this question is option D, form. Option D. Question number 31. Identify the structures labeled as A and B from the given diagrammatic representation. The spermatogonia, in singular it is generally called as spermatogonium, are present on the inside wall of seminiferous tubules and they increase in number by mitotic divisions. Each spermatogonium is diploid and contain 46 chromosomes. Some spermatogonia are called primary spermatocytes which undergo meiotic divisions. They form second spermatocytes which divide meiotically and give rise to haploid spermatids. They transform into spermatozoa. It is generally called as sperms by the process called spermatogenesis. So the answer for this question is option D. A labeled spermatogonia, B labeled as spermatozoa. So the correct option is D. Question number 32. Which one of the following statements pertaining to the plant structure is correct? Sieve tube elements possesses a cytoplasm but lack nucleus at maturity. This metabolic activities are regulated by the nucleus of closely associated cell called companion cells. So the answer for this question is option D. Sieve tube elements possess a cytoplasm but no nuclei. So this statement is pertaining to the plant structure is correct. Question number 33. The oral tube developed by CDRI has lesser side effect because oral administration of small doses of either progesterones or progesterone estrogen combination is another contraceptive method used by the females. They inhibit ovulation and implantation as well as alter the quality of cervical mucus to prevent the entry of sperms. Pills are very effective with lesser side effects and are well accepted by the females. Saheli, a new oral contraceptive for the females, contain a non-steroid preparation. It is once a week pill with very few side effects and high contraceptive value. So the answer for this question is option A, contain non-steroidal preparation. The oral contraceptive developed by CDRA has lesser side effect because it contains a non-steroidal preparation. So the correct option is A. Question number 34. When a meristematic tissue called cambium is present inside a vascular bundle, the bundle said to be. The vascular bundles having cambium in between xylem and phloem are called open bundles. Due to cambium, secondary growth is possible. The vascular bundles which lack cambium are called closed bundles. Open bundles occurs in dicards and closed bundles occurs in monocard. So the answer for this question is open. The cambium is present in between xylem and phloem. Such type of vascular bundles is called as open vascular bundle. Question number 35. Which barrier methods are made of rubber? Diaphragms, cervical caps and walls. These are made of rubber that are inserted into the female reproductive tract to cover the cervix during coitus. So the answer for this question is option A, cervical cap. Question number 36. Which of the following is not correct with respect to binomial nomenclature? Biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and specific epithet. This system of providing a name with two components is called as binomial nomenclature. The first word in biological name represents the genus, while the second name of the component denotes the specific epithet. So the answer for this question is option D. The first word in a biological name represents the specific epithet, while the second component denotes the genus. So this statement is wrongly given. Question number 37. A person injured in a road accident requiring an urgent immune response was brought to the doctor. The doctor immediately gave an ATS injection. What type of immunity was provided to the patient? Passive immunity is a kind of immunity in which ready-made antibodies, it is generally called as gamma globulins, obtained from human or animal serum, are injected into the human body to provide an immediate immune response. Road accidents are accompanied with the broken skin and hurt, which urges doctor to prescribe anti-tetanus injection. It is generally called as ATS, stand for anti-tetanus serum, which form officially acquired passive immunity. So the answer for this question is option D, artificially required passive immunity. So the correct option is D. Question number 38. What is the function of rich protein layer found in euglena instead of cell wall? Euglenids are freshwater organisms instead of cell wall. They have protein rich layer called pellicle, which makes their body flexible. They have two flagella, a short and a long one. Though they are photosynthetic in the presence of sunlight, when deprived of sunlight, they behave like heterotrophs by predating on the other smaller organisms. So the answer for this question is it contributes to flexibility. So the correct option is C. Question number 39. Choose the incorrect match with respect to disorder and other associated clinical conditions. Here there are four different types of disorders are given. Ischemic heart disease is characterized by discomfort and chest pain due to the lack of blood supply to the heart, especially the times of excitement or exhaustion when the heart requires a greater amount of blood. So the answer for this question is option D. So among the given four disorders, the incorrect one is option D. Question number 40. Statement 1. The megaspore mother cell divides mitotically to produce 4 spores. Statement 2. Megaspore mother cells are diploid and megaspore is haploid. Megaspore mother cell is a prominent cell in the nucellus. It divides by meiosis and forms a row of 4 haploid megaspores. So from the given two statements, statement 1 is wrong but the statement 2 is true. So the correct option is option D. Statement 1 is wrong but the statement 2 is true. Question number 41. Cannabinoid receptors are principally present in THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, acting through cannabinoid receptors also activates the brain's reward system. THC stimulates neurons in the reward system to release the signaling chemical dopamine at the levels higher than those typically absorbed in the response to neural stimuli. So the answer for this question is brain. Cannabinoid receptors are principally present in brain. So the correct option is A. Question number 42. If the diploid chromosome number in a flowering plant is 12, then which one of the following will have only 6 chromosomes? Synergids are formed by megaspore, which is a haploid structure. Thus, synergids are haploid and possesses 6 chromosomes. From the given 4 structures, synergids contain 6 chromosomes. So the correct answer is option D. Question number 43. The change of frequency of alleles in a population would result in, according to Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, any change in the frequency of allele from one generation to another generation is known as evolution. In other words, deviation from Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is evolution. So the answer for this question is Option A. The change from frequency of alleles in population would result evolution. Question number 44. How many of the following statement is incorrect? Here there are three statements. The most common type of endosperm development, the primary endosperm nucleus undergoes successive nuclear division to give rise to free nuclei. This stage of endosperm development is called free nuclear endosperm. Is cellular type of common type of endosperm development. The primary endospermic nucleus undergoes successive nuclear divisions to give rise to free nuclei. This stage of endosperm development is called free nuclear endosperm. In cellular type of endosperm observed in Capsella, it belongs to Brassicaceae family. Karyokinesis is followed by cytokinesis forming solid cellular endosperm. In coconut, nuclear endosperm is formed in which karyokinesis is not followed by cytokinesis initially. Thus, liquid nuclear endosperm is formed. So, the answer for this question is option B. From the given 5, a more ape-like form was observed in dash, while dash was more man-like. About 50 million years ago, primates called Dryopithecus and Rhompithecus existed. They were hairy and walked like gorilla and chimpanzees. So the answer for this question is option A. A more ape-like form was observed in Dryopithecus, while Rhompithecus was more man-like. Number 46. Nucellar embryo is substitution of unusual sexual reproduction by a form of reproduction which does not include meiosis, and syngamy is called apomixis. In this phenomenon, embryo is developed by some other tissues without fertilization. Example, nucellus or integuments or unfertilized egg. Nucellus is a diploid tissue, so the nucellar embryo is apomictic diploid. Answer for this question is option B, apomictic diploid. Question number 47. The size of the brain of Neanderthal is about. The Neanderthal man with a brain size of 1400 cc lived in the Near East and Central Asia between 1 lakh to 40,000 years back. They were used hides to protect their body and buried dead bodies. So the answer for this question is option A, 1400 cc. Question number 48. The period of viability in seeds vary from species to species. Which of the following plant has seeds with highest recorded period of viability? Highest recorded period of viability. There are several records of very old yet viable seeds. The oldest is that of lupin, Lupinus articus, excavated from Arctic tundra. The seed germinated and flowered after an estimated record of 10,000 years of dormancy. A recent record 2000 years old viable seeds is of the date palm Ponix dactylifera, discovered during the archaeological excavation at King Harold Palace near the Dead Sea. So the answer for this question is Lupinus orticus, option D. Question number 49. Which of the statement above breeding wrong? Here there are four statements are given. Continuous breeding, especially close inbreeding, reduce fertility and productivity. This is called inbreeding depression. So the incorrect statement is option B. Continued inbreeding, especially close inbreeding, increase fertility and productivity. This statement is wrongly given. Actually, continued breeding, especially close inbreeding, decrease fertility and productivity. Question number 50. Which of the following groups of plants are propagated through underground root? Reproductive roots are adventitious roots which are generally fleshy and develop adventitious buds. Example, sweet potato, dahlia, asparagus, tapioca, etc. So the following group of plants are propagated through underground root: sweet potato, asparagus, tapioca and dahlia. So the correct option is D. Question number 51. Arrange the following structures according to their decreasing number. Hepatic cacae are 6 to 8 blind tubules present at the junction of foregut and midgut. At the junction of midgut and hindgut, 100 to 150 yellow colored thin filamentous Malpighian tubules are present. Each compound eye of cockroach consists of about 2000 hexagonal omatida. So the answer for this question is option B, omatida, Malpighian tubule, hepatic cacae. Question number 52. If a double-stranded DNA has 30% of guanine, what will be the percentage of adenine and thymine base pairs? If a double-stranded DNA consists of 30% guanine, then according to Chagaff's rule, cytosine is also 30%. The remaining 40% includes adenine and thymine base pairs. So the answer for this question is option C, 40%. Question number 53. How many of the following substances given in the list below secreted by exocrine glands? On the basis of the mode of pouring of their secretions, glands are divided into two categories, namely exocrine and endocrine glands. Exocrine glands secrete mucus, saliva, earwax, oil, milk, digestive enzymes, and other cell products. These products are released through ducts or tubes. In contrast, endocrine glands do not have ducts. Their products called hormones are secreted directly into their fluid bathing glands. In the given list, insulin, follicle stimulating hormone, and thyroxine are hormones. The remaining are exocrine glands. So totally there are 5 exocrine glands are given. So the correct option is A. Question number 54. When a phosphate group is linked to 5-OH of deoxyadenosine by phosphodiester linkage, a corresponding nucleotide is formed, which is nucleotide is a combination of nucleoside and phosphate group. When deoxyribose sugar attaches to adenine nucleotide, deoxyadenosine is formed. When phosphate attaches to 5-OH of deoxyadenosine, then the corresponding nucleotide called deoxyadenilic acid is formed. So the answer for this question is deoxyadenilic acid, option D. Question number 55. Comb plates for locomotion are found in Ctenopores are characterized by 8 rows of cilia which are used for locomotion. The cilia in each row are arranged to form stack of combs, also called comb plates. Thus the name Ctenopora comes from Greek word meaning comb bearer. So the answer for this question is option C, Ctenopora. Comb plates for locomotion are found in Ctenopores. Question number 56. Which of the following is incorrect about nucleosome? The nucleosome chain represents beads on string-like structure when viewed under electron microscope. This chromatin undergoes further coiling to form chromatin fibers. These chromatin fibers undergoes further coiling to form chromosomes, which are distinctly visible during metaphase of cell division. So the answer for this question is option D. So from the given 4 statements, statement D is given wrongly. The nucleosome in chromatin are seen as beads on string structure when viewed under light microscope. Question number 57. Which of the following organism is not radially symmetrical? Radial symmetry. A radial animal has top and bottom but has no head or rear end and no left or right. Examples of animals possessing radial symmetry are Cnidaria, Ctenopora, and Echinodermata. So the answer for this question is Phyla. Phyla is the organism is not radially symmetrical. So the answer for this question is option A. Question number 58. To determine the type of organic compounds found in the living organisms, the living tissue is ground in. To determine the type of organic matter present in living tissue is grinded in trichloroacetic acid. The slurry thus obtained is filtered to obtain acid soluble pool which passes through the filter and acid insoluble pool which retained. The acid soluble pool contains the micromolecules and the acid insoluble pool contains the macromolecules. So the answer for this question is option A, trichloroacetic acid. Question number 59. Which of the following is present in maximum percentage in living matter? Oxygen is most abundant element present in living tissue. In human body it forms 65.5%. It is the main component of all biomolecules such as carbohydrate, proteins, fats and nucleic acid. So the answer for this question is option C, oxygen. Question number 60. Which of the following nitrogenous waste is excreted in the form of pellets or paste? Excretion of uric acid as a nitrogenous waste is way to preserve water in body and minimize loss of water in urine. Therefore, animals which survive in water stress conditions excrete in their nitrogenous waste as uric acid to prevent water loss. So the answer for this question is all of the above. Reptiles and birds, snails and insects, insects and birds. All of the following nitrogenous waste is excreted in the form of pellets or paste. So the correct option is D. Number 61. How does an enzyme catalyze a reaction? The enzyme catalyzes a reaction by lowering down the activation of energy of the reaction so that the reaction can occur at normal cellular conditions. Activation energy is lowered by using binding energy, which is released when the substrate binds to active site of the enzyme to form enzyme substrate complex. Thus, enzyme substrate complex formation is very much necessary for enzyme catalyzed reactions to occur. So the answer for this question is option B, by decreasing activation energy of the reaction. So the correct option is B. Question number 62. By an angiogram, it was analyzed that there is a restriction to flow of blood in the blood vessels. Which of the following disease can arise due to such medical conditions? Coronary artery disease, it is generally called as CAD. It is often referred to as atherosclerosis. It affects the vessels that supply blood to the heart muscles. In this condition, the lumen of arteries gradually becomes narrower due to the deposition of calcium, fat, cholesterol, and fibrous tissues. Then another one is angina. It is otherwise called as angina pectoris. Because of insufficient blood supply to heart muscles, a symptom of acute chest pain appears, indicating decreased availability of oxygen to heart muscles. It can occur in both the sexes at any age, but its occurrence increases with age. So the answer for this question is option A, angina pectoris and coronary artery disease. The correct option is A. Question number 63. Which of the following fruit develops from the monocarpellary or multicarpellary syncarpous ovary and forms a single fruit? When a single fruit develops from a single flower having one or many syncarpous ovaries, it is called as simple fruit. It can be dry or fleshy depending upon the nature of fruit wall called as pericarp. So, answer for this question is option A, simple fruit. Question number 64. Which of the following is not a medicinal plant? Muliati is generally called as Glyceriaceae, a member of Fabaceae. Aloe vera, a member of Liliaceae family. And the belladonna, it is Otropa belladonna, a member of Solanaceae family, are all medicinal plants. Indigofera, commonly called as Nile, is used to obtain dye. So the answer for this question is option D, Indigofera. Question number 65. Which of the following statement is incorrect? Here there are four statements are given. From that has to find out incorrect statement. In the alternate type of pilotaxy, a single leaf arises at each node in an alternate manner, as in China rose, mustard, and sunflower plants. If more than two leaves arise at node and form a whole, it is called whole, as in Alsonia. So the answer for this question is option B. That is the incorrect statement. If more than two leaves arise at node and form a whole, it is called whole, as in mustard. So this statement is wrongly given. Question number 66. In monocotyledon seed, the outermost layer of endosperm is called. The outermost layer of endosperm of monocot seed is called as alluron layer. It consists of enzymatic proteins which help in breakdown of stored food and supply it to the embryo during germination of seed. Ploidy of cells of alluron layer is in triploid. So the answer for this question option A, alluron layer. Question number 67. Hallen's rule, mammals from cold climate have short hairs and short limbs to minimize heat loss. Extremize like hairs and limbs are reduced to decrease the area for heat lost. So the answer for this question is option B. According to Hallen's rule, the mammals from cold climate have shorter hairs and shorter limbs. Question number 68. If a superior competitor is removed from the area, there is always an increased population of the otherwise exploited species. This phenomena is called, according to Connell's elegant field experiment in the intertidal area of Scotland, barnacle is Barnacle balanus is a competitively superior species and predominate in the area, and Barnacle cathamalus is a competitively inferior species and it is confined to narrow zone in the area. Removal of superior or balanus lead to the rapid rise in the population of inferior cathamalus. This is called competitive release. Answer for this question is option B, competitive release. Question number, match the gases in column 1 with the source in the column 2. The column oxide, that is N2O, is matching with the column 2 denitrification. Chlorofluorocarbons is released from refrigerators, aerosol sprays. Methane is obtained from cattle dung and toilets. Ozone, it is a secondary pollutant from car exhaust. Carbon dioxide, combustion of fossil fuels, wood, etc. So the correctly matching one is option A. Question number 70. Water. This Prevention and Control of Pollution Act was passed in the year of. Realizing the importance of maintaining the cleanliness of the water bodies, the Government of India has passed the Water Prevention Act in the year of 1974 to safeguard our water resources from pollution. So the answer for this question is option A, 1974. Question number 71. Which of the following is incorrect about the experiment performed by T.W. Engelmann? Here there are 4 statements are given. T.W. Engelmann experimented on Cladopora. He illuminated Cladopora with white light after passing through a prism. He used aerobic bacteria to detect the oxygen evolution site and observed that the maximum bacteria accumulated in the blue and red region of the spectrum, indicating that the maximum photosynthesis occurs in this region. So the incorrect statement is C. The bacteria accumulated mainly in the region of orange and green parts of the light spectrum. This statement is wrongly given. Actually, the bacteria accumulate in the region of blue and red region. Question number 72. Find out the incorrect statement from the following. Here there are 4 statements are given. Here also has to find out incorrect statement. Division of labor occurs in the chloroplast. In grana, light reaction occurs with ATP and NADPH2 are synthesized, which are used in dark reaction to reduce carbon dioxide to glucose. All enzymes of the Calvin cycle are present in the stroma region. So the answer is option D. There is no division of labor in chloroplast. That statement is wrongly given. Question number 73. Which of the following reaction involves substrate level phosphorylation? ATP is synthesized in a reaction when phosphoenol pyruvic acid is converted to pyruvic acid. This direct synthesis of ATP is called transphosphorylation. Substrate level phosphorylation. So the answer for this question is option C. Phosphoenol pyruvic acid to pyruvic acid is the reaction involves substrate level phosphorylation. Question number 74. In an electron transport chain, the cytochrome which donate electron to oxygen is cytochrome A3 is the terminal cytochrome of electron transport chain. It has Fe plus 3 and copper plus 2 both. With Fe, it picks up electrons and through copper, it passes electrons to oxygen. So the correct option is option C, cytochrome A3. In an electron transport chain, the cytochrome A3 which donate electrons to oxygen. Question number 75. Experiment was performed to test the effect of oxygen on the plant growth. 5 plant seedlings, that is all growing actively, were prepared as below. They were unilaminated and growth was measured after 10 days. Plant A, tip not removed, nothing applied. Plant B, tip removed, nothing applied. Plant C, tip removed, gelatin block with cytokinin was placed on the cut edge. Plant D, Tip removed gelatin block with auxin placed on the cut edge. From the above statements, which of the following plant would show curvature after the above treatment? Auxin is the plant hormone that is synthesized in young stem apex. During daytime, auxin redistribution occurs such that the plant side directly exposed to sunlight contains lower oxygen concentration than the other side, which is not exposed to light. This unequal distribution causes curvature. In plant A, redistribution of auxin leads to curvature, whereas removal of tips in plants B leads to no auxin synthesis and no curvature. However, in plant D, where gelatin box with auxin is placed, due to auxin redistribution, the curvature is absorbed. So the answer for this question is option B. A and D from the given. In the below diagrams, A and B are initial areas of leaves, A and B are areas of leaves after growth. Which of the following is correct? Here there are four statements are given based on the given diagram. Quantitative comparisons between the growth of living system can also be made in two ways. Measurement and the comparison of total growth per unit time is called as absolute growth rate. The growth of given system per unit time exposed on a common basis. Example, per unit initial parameter is called as relative growth rate. Here absolute growth of leaf A to A is 2.5 centimeter, whereas that the leaf B to B is 10 centimeter square. Hence the absolute growth is different. Since 2.5 is 25% of 10, there is a total 25% increase in growth in leaf A, and in leaf B 10 is 25% of 40. So there is also 25% increase in growth. Hence the relative growth of two leaves the same, that is 25%. So the answer for this question is option C. Absolute growth is different but the relative growth is the same. Question number 77. Conversion of milk to curd improves its nutritional value by increasing the amount of. Conversion of milk to curd is done by lactobacillus, which causes coagulation of milk and partial digestion of milk protein casein. It adds vitamin B12 and increases the nutritional quality of curd. Curd is also useful in controlling the growth of other diseases causing microbes in the stomach. So the answer for this question is option B, vitamin B12. Question number 78. The process of recovery and purification of expressed biological product is called. After completion of the biosynthetic stage, the product has to be subjected through a series of processes before it is ready for manufacturing as a finished product. The processes including separation and purification, which are referred to as downstream processing. So the answer for this question is option A. Downstream processing is the process. The following features belong to which syndrome? Here the Down syndrome is a chromosomal disorder. The cause of this genetic disorder is the presence of an additional copy of the chromosomal number 21, is a trisomy of 21. This disorder was first described by Langdon Down. So the answer for this question is option A. Down syndrome belongs to Down syndrome. So the correct option is A. Question number 80. Find out the total number of Mendelian disorders from the following: cystic fibrosis, hemophilia, sickle cell anemia, color blindness, thalassemia, phenylketonuria. Cystic fibrosis, which are determined by the alternation or mutation in single gene. These disorders are transmitted to the offspring on the same lines as principles of inheritance. So the answer for this question is 6. There are the 6 number of Mendelian disorders from the following. Question number 81. A deceased man marries a normal woman. They have 3 daughters and 5 sons. All the daughters were deceased and sons were normal. The gene of this disease is sex-linked disorder. Follows crisscross inheritance pattern, which an affected father passes it on to the daughters. The daughters receives one of the X chromosome from the fathers. So the answer for this question is Option A, sex-linked dominant chromosomes. Question number 82. Analyze the pedigree chart that is given below and select the correct option. Here they are given. Pedigree shows the inheritance of conditions such as phenylketonuria as an autosomal recessive trait. Since the pattern are normal and children are affected, the disease is in recessive form. In first generation, both males and females are equally affected. Since the disease is recessive for girls to be affected by an unaffected father, the disease has to be autosomal recessive. So the answer for this question is option B. The inheritance of conditions like phenylketonuria as an autosomal recessive trait. The pedigree chart that is given below is the inheritance of the conditions like phenylketonuria as an autosomal recessive trait. Name the blank spaces A, B, C and D from the table given below. Here there are 3 columns are given. From that has to find out A, B, C. A. Microbes are used for commercial and industrial production of organic acids such as lactic acid. Lactic acid is produced by the bacterium Lactobacillus. So A filled with Lactobacillus. B. Cyclosporin is new antifungal antibiotic produced commercially by the fungus Trichoderma polysporum. It is used as an immunosuppressant agent in organ transplant patient. So B is filling with Trichoderma and produced by the yeast Monoscus purpureus have been commercialized as a blood cholesterol lowering agent. They act by competitively inhibiting the enzyme responsible for the synthesis of cholesterol. D. Penicillin was the first antibiotic that was discovered by Alexander Fleming. It was found to be produced by the mold Penicillium notatum. So the correctly matching one is option B. A represent Lactobacillus, B represent Trichoderma polysporum, C represent yeast, D represent penicillin. Question number 84. An individual homozygous for genes small c d is crossed with wild type and F1 crossed back with the double recessive. The appearance of the offspring as it follows. Option D. 10 map units. The distance between the gene C and D is 10 MAP units. Question number 85. Which of the following represents the step involved in developing genetically modified organisms? Here there are three organisms. A specific desired gene needs to be isolated. This desired gene should be introduced in a specific host cell when it can multiply and get transferred to all the progeny cells. So the answer for this question is all the above statements are involved in developing genetically modified organisms. So the correct option is D. Question number 86. The fragmented DNA can be visualized by staining DNA with. In gel electrophoresis, the fragmented DNA can be visualized only after staining the DNA with a compound known as lithium bromide followed by exposure to UV radiation, as pure DNA fragments cannot be seen in visible light without staining. So the name of the stain that can be used, lithium bromide. So the correct option is B. Question number 87. Statement 1. Recombinant DNA technology has been less effective in therapeutic drug production. Statement 2. Recombinant therapeutics induce unwanted immunological responses. The recombinant DNA technology has been very effective in therapeutic drug production, removing most of the unwanted immunological responses. So the answer for this question is both the statements are incorrect. Statement 1 and statement 2 both are wrongly given. Question number 88. Which group of vertebrates comprises the highest number of endangered species? The grim scenario of extinction is the fact that more than 15,500 species worldwide are facing the threat of extinction. Presently, 12% of all bird species 23% of all mammal species, 32% of all amphibian species, and 31% of all gymnosperm species in the world face the threat of extinction. So the answer for this question is mammals are the group of vertebrates comprises the highest number of endangered species. So the correct option is B. Question number 89. In the World Summit on Sustainable Development held in 2002 in Johannesburg, South Africa, how many countries pledged their commitment to achieve the significant reduction in their current rate of biodiversity loss at global regions by 2010? The Historic Convention on Biological Diversity, it is generally called as the Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, called upon all nations to take appropriate measures for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable utilization of its benefits. In a follow-up, the World Summit on Sustainable Development held in the year of 2002 in Johannesburg, South Africa, 190 countries pledged their commitments to achieve a significant reduction in the current rate of biodiversity loss at global, regional, and local levels by 2010. So there are totally 190 countries have taken pledge. So the correct option is C. Question number 90 is the last question. Read the following statements carefully. Here there are 4 statements are given. From the 4 statements, which of the 2 above statements are correct? Pyramid of energy is always upright and can never be inverted because when the energy flows from a particular tropic level to the next tropic level, some energy is always lost as heat at each step. Additionally, energy at a lower tropical level is always more than at a higher level. Detritus, example earthworm, break down detritus into smaller particles. This process is called fragmentation. Bacterial and fungal enzymes degrade detritus into simpler inorganic substances. This process called catabolism. So there are 2 statements are given correctly. Statement 1 and 4 out of 4 statements. So only there are 2 statements are given correctly.
லைக் பண்ணுங்க, ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்க, சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க. நன்றி.